we will still have the mask mandate in place from the state. So, you know, people will have to wear masks. We have plenty of masks, so we'll have them on hand. I think, Doug, I included you in the email for that BCA meeting that I sent out today, but if I didn't, it can be forwarded to you. But that email included the universal guidelines that will go into effect May 1st. It also includes the sector-specific guidelines that public bodies have to be adhering to until May 1st. But basically, the way I've been thinking about it is I'm using those sector-specific guidelines on May 1st, regardless of, you know, that those seem to be the best thing to be going by, even if it's a matter of, you know, the day. So our plan is to mark out spots on the ground, roughly 6 feet apart, maybe a little bit more than 6 feet apart, given that it's likely that households would sit together. So we'll have markings on the ground, and as people get checked in, we can ask them to go kind of claim their spot and then just remain in their seats. Other than people using the restroom, we really want people to remain seated and in their family or their household group and keep their masks on. The only reason that there ought to be any moving around during the meeting is if there's a race for an office that's contested, in which case we have to have a paper ballot. And Tina and Bonnie and I have been brainstorming about how best to tackle that. And what we've come up with, and happy if anyone has any thoughts as I'm talking about this, please feel free, because, you know, any good idea is going to be helpful, is rather than people get in line and come up to the ballot box, which is often a little bit like a stampede at first, we're going to ask that people remain in their seats, and we will walk ballot boxes around, and we'll have pairs of people. I think we're going to definitely 2, maybe 3 boxes with holes in the top, like the ballot box that we normally use, on some sort of a stick to allow for some space between us and them, and have one person be ticking off the number of ballots dropped in the box and the other person carrying the box around. And we'll have multiple boxes so that it doesn't take, you know, 45 minutes for us to walk around to everybody. I guess if the crowd is small enough, maybe we could do it with 1 or 2 instead of 2 or 3. Mm-hmm. But our thought with that really was to avoid people getting up and milling around and getting in line, or having to manage people doing that. Because nobody wants, we're not looking to, you know, be policing people all day long. I think it's more asking people to just bear with us yeah. and sit tight and be safe, and we'll get through it. So, but other than that, there's,
we're handing out cards with your name pre-printed on them when you check in, so there won't be any line at the start. You'll check in and go sit down.
Right. And we won't have pens and things for people to be picking up and writing their names. And I just had a thought about another thing that might, if people want to speak. So Jed Hughes and Chris Blackie have very generously agreed to help us with our sound system. And if we have mics that can be moved around, the thought kind of again was to have, you know, the mic go to the person who wants to speak, and it can be wiped down in between users, rather than people creating a line behind a microphone to speak. And then, Doug, that I'm hoping that will be easier for you to manage the order in which people are have the floor. But
yeah,
you can.
It will. What would be very helpful for me is if I did have a script. I did read the guidelines that you sent out, and there's no way I'm going to read that at town meeting.
Yeah, it's pretty dry. Yeah,
it's going to take forever.
Yeah. And some of the guidelines don't really apply to.
But if we just have some simple rules, like for instance, we're a little bit beyond this now that people are getting vaccinated, but viruses spread when people speak, right? So people should really remain masked when they're talking, but the first thing somebody does when they speak is they take their mask off.
Yeah.
So it's stuff. I'd like to set out a set of clear guidelines that the town comes up with that we're expected to follow. And it could be very simple, like please leave your mask on for the entirety of the meeting, even if you are speaking. Please remain 6 feet apart from people that are not in your pod. And whatever rules you want to, whatever general guidelines that you want to make, they're simple and clearly understandable. So we don't have to be a police body. And, from time to time, I might be able to just say, hey, let's all respect each other and remember the protocols.
Yep.
Because we don't want it to devolve into something else.
Right. No, and I'm happy to, if you want to work on that together, I'm happy to do that. A script for, right at the beginning to just lay it out. And I had put on the community forum last week, I think, some of those guidelines, the expectations about what to expect when you come. And over the next 2 weeks, I'll probably post that or something similar. I don't know, like 8 times. I mean, it just, the more it's, which might be obnoxious, but posting it once clearly isn't adequate. So,
or maybe if there's just a big sign when people come in, and I just essentially read the sign and remind people if it seems like it's slipping away. That would be fine too. Just so everybody knows the rules, they're clear and everybody agrees to them.
Yep. We can make a couple posters we may even have some posters saved that, wear a mask, social distance, and we can hang them up around.
We're not putting chairs out. We're going to let people get their own chair, and hopefully people will bring their own chairs so they can sit in their pods. But we'll have chairs available. And
you said there were tents, right? If we have bad weather or...
Yes. Yeah, we have 2 tents available to us that are both decent sized, and the highway crew is going to help us with moving some things around, and we'll have some help with setting up tents. Garrett Humphreys, is that correct, Tom?
Yeah.
Yep. So he has a tent that he has kind of on standby for us to rent if needed. And he said he would come set it up. And the collaborative has an event tent that they'll lend us that probably needs some extra helping hands to get it set up. But the plan is to have all of those large infrastructure things taken care of by Thursday, so that we're not doing it all the morning of. And, we can, if we've forgotten things, we'll have Friday to remember them. And I kind of have all of that lined up, and we're hoping for good weather.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yep.